point.
All right, it's time.
Town hall tonight in Pennsylvania on another network, and now the president is doing the same. His own town hall with the same venue, format, and time as NBC's town hall with Joe Biden last week. So the two candidates go head-to-head tonight, though not face-to-face, each in a key battleground state. And tonight, the president will be taking questions from voters here in Miami, who we should mention are socially distanced and they're wearing masks. And I should say, this audience looks a bit like America. It's divided. Some here voted for the president in 2016 and plan to again. Some support Joe Biden, and some say they are truly undecided. We're going to get a mix of questions on a range of topics, and we're going to get to those questions in a moment. But first, with all that ado, welcome, Mr. President, and thank you for being here.
That was very well stated, I have to say. Good job.
Thank you. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're well. We send our best to the First Lady and to Barron.
Thank you.
Do you have any remaining symptoms from COVID?
Nothing whatsoever. I'm great. I feel good. I was in North Carolina today and did a big rally. We had a tremendous turnout, and just feel really good. Florida, Pennsylvania, we're all over the place. It's been great.
You received some treatments that are generally reserved for those with the most severe form of the disease.
Yeah.
How severe were your symptoms? In particular, did you have pneumonia?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel strong. I had a little bit of a temperature. The doctors at the White House are fantastic, as you can imagine, and they really didn't want to take a chance. And they said, "Let's go to the hospital." I said, "That's okay. I'm going to, respond to what you say." And we went over to Walter Reed, where you have tremendous professionals. They gave me Regeneron and Remdesivir both. And all I know is I felt good the following day. I felt really good.
Did the doctors ever tell you that they saw pneumonia on your lung scans?
No, but they said the lungs are, a little bit different, a little bit perhaps infected. And
infected with?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't do too much asking. I really felt good. I didn't have much of a problem with the lungs. I did have a little bit of a temperature. Obviously, I felt there was something missing, and then I tested positive.
Well, let's talk about testing, because there's a little bit of confusion about this, and I think we can clear it up.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be.
Your first positive test was Thursday, October 1st, okay? When was your last negative test? When did you last remember having a negative test?
Well, I test quite a bit, and I can tell you that before the debate, which I thought it was a very good debate, and I felt fantastically. I had no problem before.
Did you test the day of the debate?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I test all the time. But I can tell you this. After the debate, I guess a day or so, I think it was Thursday evening, maybe even late Thursday evening, I tested positive. That's when I first found out about it.
Back to the debate, because the debate commission's rules, it was the honor system, would be that you would come with a negative test. You say you don't know if you got a test on the day of the debate?
I had no problem. Again, the doctors do it. I don't ask them. I test all the time, and
did you take a test though on the day of the debate?
If you ask the doctor, they'll give you a perfect answer. But they take a test, and I leave, and I go about my business.
Did you take a test on the day of the debate? I guess is the bottom line.
I probably did, and I took a test the day before and the day before, and I was always in great shape. And I was in great shape for the debate. And it was only after the debate, like a period of time after the debate, that I said, "That's interesting," and they took a test, and it tested positive.
So just to button it up, do you take a test every single day?
No, but I take a lot of tests.
Okay, and you don't know if you took a test the day of the debate?
Possibly I did, possibly I didn't. But the doctor is very accurate information, and it's not only that doctor, it's many doctors. The one thing, if you're president, you have a lot of doctors you're surrounded by. But I was in great shape for the debate. And sometime after the debate, I tested positive.
Let's talk about...
That's when they decided to let's go.
Okay, good. I hopefully provided some clarity for folks. Let's talk about the event that was held at the White House on the Saturday before you tested positive. Subsequent to that, 13 people connected to that event tested positive. There was an outdoor reception. You've seen the pictures. There was an indoor reception. People were not wearing masks. My question to you is, at this point in the pandemic, knowing what we know, shouldn't you have known better? Shouldn't the White House know better than to hold an event like that?
Well, they do a lot of testing in the White House. They test everybody, including me, but they test everybody. And something happened. But as far as the mask is concerned, I'm good with masks. I'm okay with masks. I tell people wear masks. But just the other day, they came out with a statement that 85% of the people that wear masks catch it. So
They
this
didn't
is
say
a
that.
very
I know that
tricky-
study.
Well,
That's it.
that's what I heard, and that's what I saw. And regardless, but everybody's tested, and they're tested often. And I also knew that, hey, I'm president. I have to see people. I can't be in a basement. I can't be in a room. I have to be out.
You can see
And I
people with a
also
mask,
know-
though, right?
I can, but people with masks are catching it all the time. I mean, if you look at the governor of Virginia, he was known for a mask. If you look at Tom Tillis, a great guy, he always had a mask, and they caught it.
Well, there are pictures of Tom Tillis actually with one of Judge Barrett's kids not wearing a mask. But, Chris Christie, he was part of your debate prep.
Yeah.
He was, I believe, at that event. He came out tonight. He was sick, very sick. He was in the hospital for about a week.
I know
He
that.
came out tonight and said, I was wrong not to wear a mask.
Well, I mean, he has to say that. I think it's great. He's a friend of mine. He's a good guy.
And I have to say it too.
And, wrong or not wrong, you have to understand, as president, I can't be locked in a room someplace for the next year and just stay and do nothing. And every time I go into a crowd, I was with the parents of our fallen heroes. These people are the most incredible people. And they came up to me, and they would hug me, and they would touch me. And I'm not going to not let them do it.
Now,
to be
there was
honest
an
with you.
event with the Gold Star
There was
families
exactly
the day
right.
after the Supreme
A
Court
Gold
event.
Star event with the most incredible people you've ever seen. And I could have chosen not to talk to them or to keep everybody away. And you know what? And I don't think that's probably where it was caught, but maybe it
Well, I
was.
was going to say, you bring it up. You brought it up yourself. I mean, are you trying to suggest that? Do you believe a grieving military family gave you COVID?
No, I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
And you don't know where it came from, and the doctors don't know where it came from. But
Right, because
as
we don't
the
have
president, I
contact
have to be
tracing
out
in
there.
this
I also
country.
know-
That's the
No one
reason
says
why
you
we
can't
have
be
no
out there, but
idea
it's just
where
about
the
wearing
origins
masks
of
and having- for example,
coronavirus
your
came
rally,
from.
your rally
Although
has
we
to
do
require
know
masks.
it came
I mean,
from
you see
the Super
Kamala,
Spreader
she's got
event
people now
that was
people have it, and I'm not
Amy Coney
blaming her.
Barrett's
I'm
like,
not saying, oh, she did a terrible
special
thing.
meeting,
As
special
president, I have to
ceremony.
be out there. I can't be in a basement. I can't be locked in a very beautiful room someplace in the White House. And I want to see the Gold Star families, and I want to see everybody. And I also say to people all the time, it's risky doing it. It is risky doing
But
it.
as
It's risky
president,
seeing people.
you're right. You don't want to. You want to be a leader, but you also are a leader and a setter of an example.
Still
And
on
if you're not
steroids?
wearing a mask,
Yeah,
the
like
administration
obviously
says
Hope
yes,
Hicks
just
is
like
the
you're
culprit
not
because she was the
wearing
one who
masks.
tested for coronavirus first, right? She tested positive for coronavirus first. But in terms of like who brought in the coronavirus, we can safely assume that it came in somewhere and it was spread in the Rose Garden during Amy Coney Barrett's ceremony.
Get it out of the world. Look at what's going on in Europe. Massive spikes. They've done a very good job, but now you take a look today at the UK, you take a look at Spain and France and Italy. There's tremendous spikes.
But our death rate is worse than, well, not Spain, but those
Well,
other
I
countries.
have things right here that will tell you exactly
Oh God,
the
oh
opposite.
God, he's whipping out the
UK
he's whipping
is
out
up
the reports.
2,500%, because I knew you'd be doing this. I know you very well. The UK
Cases.
is up
The cases argument.
2,500%. The EU's up 722%.
You want this guy to lead
and
you?
The United States is
America?
down
What a
21%.
buffoon.
But we have our deaths per capita is among the highest among
Excess
industrially.
mortality. Excess mortality, we're a winner on the excess mortality. And what we've done has been amazing, and we have done an amazing job.
Okay, doesn't that just mean because we do have a high number of contracted cases, we have more than 7 million people who have contracted COVID, and that compared to the total number of deaths, there is a large margin. And so he is using that proportion of contracted cases to deaths to justify why the United States is not the worst in its response to COVID-19, right? Without taking into consideration that we have some of the highest numbers of deaths per capita.
10% of the country approximately has had COVID. That means 80, 90%, 90%, let's do the math, is still vulnerable.
Right, that's
There's
right.
been some talk, including from the White House lately, that perhaps it approves of what's called herd immunity. That's where you basically just let young people and everybody get sick. You try to protect the old people and those who are sick, and hopefully it gets up to a certain level, and now we're all immune.
Yeah.
So let's just be clear about it. It also means more deaths. Do you support herd immunity
Oh my God.
as a strategy?
His
Essentially
response,
just
he
let
was like
people get
cold,
sick.
dead.
The cure.
Do you see that? I mean, obviously, like, he's probably, like, on some shit, but, like, his response to there's going to be more deaths was absolutely just resting bitch face.
One person is too much. much. It should have never happened because of China. It happened because of China. And you have to get that.
Like,
and
no emotional response
that.
whatsoever.
But it shouldn't have happened. But we were expected to lose. If you look at the original charts from original doctors who are respected by everybody, 2,200,000
That 2
people.
million figure, though, is if you
We
literally
saved 2
did
million
nothing.
people.
The 2 million figure is if you did absolutely nothing, it would be 2 million.
If
The
we-
question is,
if we did-
should the deaths be better than 200,000 when
I don't
relative to the
know.
rest of
Let
the
me
world
tell
we
you
have
what
a
is
worse
happening.
death rate?
I left North Carolina, which I love. I left Pennsylvania. We won a big case in Michigan because that governor has a lockdown where nobody
That
but
governor.
her husband can do anything. He can go voting and do whatever he wants, but nobody else can. The fact is we're winning all these cases because it's unconstitutional what they're doing. And I think they're doing it for political reasons. But the fact is the cure...
How is it unconstitutional
You
to try to
can't
save
let
as many
this continue
people
to go
from
on with the
COVID as
lockdowns.
possible?
Well, most
And I
of the
believe
states-
that on November 4th, you're going to have a lot of these governors. Look at what's happening to New York. New York is a mess. They lost almost 40,000 people. They have a lockdown like you've never seen. Now they're open. It's like a ghost town.
Let's get to him.
And Savannah, it's very important. People are leaving New York by the thousands. And you're going to have a hard time ever building it up again. So that cure, that so-called cure that you talk about, it can't be worse than the problem. The problem is a bad problem.
We've got more questions on COVID, so
Okay,
let's drop it
fine.
for now. We were supposed to, as mentioned, be watching you on a debate stage right now. We're not doing that, so let's clear up a few things from the last one. You were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy. In the moment, you didn't. You asked some follow-up questions. Who specifically? A couple of days later, on a different show, you
always
denounced
do
white
this.
supremacy.
No, you
My
always
question
do this.
to you is,
You've done this to
why
me and
does it
everybody.
seem like
I denounced white supremacy, okay?
You did
I
2 days
denounced
later.
white supremacy for years, but you always do it. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he
New York will never
denounces
be
Antifa.
busy again.
I watched him on the same basic show
Yeah.
with Lester Holt.
You have thousands of millionaires who are leaving New York for the suburbs, right? It's never going to be the same ever again.
I denounced white supremacy.
okay. You feel, it feels sometimes you're hesitant to do so, like you wait a
Hesitant. Here we
beat.
go again. Every time, in fact, my people came, I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats who don't
All right,
know what
while
they're
we're
doing.
denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true
So,
and that
I know-
disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told
I
you.
know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing
They
about
believe
it.
it is a
If you'd like
satanic
me to
cult run by the deep
study the
state.
subject, I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by
Republican
Republicans.
Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories.
He may be
Why not
right.
just say it's
Can I be
crazy and
honest?
not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know.
Hell
Let me
yeah.
tell you
Another
about it.
thing.
Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy.
He knows not to fucking denounce QAnon. That's his whole entire fucking base. Listen,
I do have one more in this vein.
he knows that QAnon. If you're looking at a Venn diagram and you're looking at the overlap between QAnon and Trump supporters, it's a goddamn circle. All right, nobody knows it better than this guy.
You just this
neither
week.
do you know that.
Okay, just this week you
Why aren't
retweeted.
you asking me about Antifa? Why aren't you asking me
'Cause you
about the
just-
radical left?
because you're
Why aren't
volunteering
you
it.
asking Joe Biden questions about why doesn't he condemn Antifa? Why does he say it doesn't exist?
He does. You're here before
Antifa,
me.
no, excuse that's so cute. Antifa exists. They're vicious, they're violent, they kill people, and they're burning down our cities. And they happen to be radical left.
Just this week, you retweeted to your 87 million followers a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie like that to your followers? You retweeted
That was a retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves.
You're
I don't
the
take a
president.
position.
You're not like someone's crazy uncle who can just retweet whatever.
That was a retweet, and I do a lot of retweets. And frankly, because the media is so fake and so corrupt, if I didn't have social media, I don't call it Twitter, I call it social media, I wouldn't be able to get the word out. And the word is
false.
and you know what the word is? The word is very simple. We're building our country stronger and better than it's ever been before. And that's what's happening, and everybody knows it.
Okay, we got a bunch of questions for you.
We're winning in a lot of states.
Okay.
We're winning in a lot of states.
Let me ask, okay, I'm glad you brought up the election because I do want to ask about that. That's another kind of leftover item. A lot of people have asked you, will you accept a peaceful transfer of power? You have said repeatedly, the only way we lose this election is if it is rigged. Now, that is simply not true. The fact is either candidate can lose fair and square without ballot fraud. So will you accept the results of the election?
That's the way I want it to be. But when I see thousands of ballots, right, unsolicited ballots being given out by the millions, and thousands of them are dumped in dumpsters.
Thank you for resubscribing 4 months in a row.
With the name Trump, military ballots from our great military, and they're dumped in garbage cans.
That is a handful. We could go all night, which we won't. But we could go all night, one by one, a single case, a single day. You're talking about 150 million votes. Your own FBI director says there is no evidence of widespread fraud.
Well, then he's not doing a very good job. All you have to do is pick up the papers every day. 50,000 in Ohio, the great state of Ohio. 50,000 in another location, I think North Carolina. 500,000 applications in Virginia. No, there's a tremendous problem. But let me just tell you, they talk about the peaceful transfer, right? They spied on my campaign and they got caught, and they spied heavily on my campaign, and they tried to take down a duly elected sitting president. And then they talk about, will you accept a peaceful transfer? And the answer is yes, I will. But I want it to be an honest election, and so does everybody else. When I see thousands of ballots dumped in a garbage can and they happen to have my name on it, I'm not happy about that.
But just those are there is in fact no evidence of widespread fraud, and you were sowing doubt about our democracy.
How can you say that? You do read newspapers.
I do.
You do watch the news.
Yes,
I know you read the news, but you watch it.
I do.
Because every day they're talking about ballots that are corrupt, that are fraudulent.
And millions
I can't believe that this is happening.
Being processed right now.
But you can win a race. Take a look at me. You can win a race by 1%.
But why are you laying the groundwork for that right now? It's like if I go play tennis with my husband and I say my ankle's hurting right now.
I don't want that to happen. Savannah, I want it to be clean.
Okay.
I really feel we're going to win. But I want this to be clean.
But
it's sort of ironic that you and them talk about the peaceful transfer when I spent 3.5 years fighting off these maniacs, and now it turns out everything's there, that they were the ones that dealt with Russia. And it's too bad.
What are you talking about?
I absolutely want that, but ideally I don't want to transfer because I want to win.
Yes, and I think that your words will probably reassure some folks. Let's get to our first voter. We've got Jacqueline Lugo. Now she is, I told you this audience is truly split between y'all. You are leaning Biden. She voted for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as an independent. Jacqueline, what's your question for the president? And you hold the mic up close and take off your mic because it's hard to hear out here.
Good evening.
How are you?
Welcome to Miami.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful.
Mr. President, if
God,
you
he is so horny all the time. It is so uncomfortable.
Bob Woodward in February.
As what?
As you told Bob Woodward in February was airborne and deadlier than the flu. Why did you only put in place a travel ban from China and not put in place other measures mitigating the spread of COVID-19, potentially saving tens of thousands of American lives?
Well, I did put it in very early, as you know. Joe Biden was 2 months behind me, and he called me xenophobic and racist and everything else because I put it in. And it turned out that I was 100% right. I also put it on Europe very early because I saw there was a lot of infection in Europe. And it's sort of an amazing question. And I appreciate the question and respect the question. But the news doesn't get out the right answer because I put on a travel ban far earlier than Dr. Fauci thought it was necessary, who I like, far earlier than the scientists. I was actually the only one that wanted to put it on, and I did it actually against the advice of a lot of people, including Nancy Pelosi, who had no clue what she was doing, and Biden. When I put on the travel ban, I put it on in January, the end of January. When I put on the travel ban, Joe Biden and others said, this is ridiculous. You don't do that. Well, Dr. Fauci said I saved thousands and thousands of lives.
Did you?
I was early. I was extremely early when I put on the travel ban.
Can I ask you, did your national security advisor on January 28th in the Oval Office warn you that this would be the greatest national security risk of your administration? He didn't say it, or you don't remember?
I read it someplace. Maybe Woodward said it or something. But no, he did not say that. But I knew it was a big threat. At the same time, I don't want to panic this country. I don't want to go out and say everybody's going to die. Everybody's
Isn't there a middle ground? You don't have to mislead, but you can.
No, there's not a middle ground. You have to be safe. You have to be vigilant. And you have to be smart.
No federal mandates whatsoever, other than a handful of federal level mandates, right? Don't die. So we're talking about the CDC moratorium on evictions is one of the only federally mandated responses to COVID-19. No nationalized mask wearing. No federal shutdown of the economy. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. Just keep that in mind. Y'all know this, but keep it in mind.
Economic effects are trickling down.
He handled that question. He handled that question poorly because he knows that he is guilty of failing to respond effectively to coronavirus. There was no widespread mitigation effort. There was no federal mandate in place to ensure mask wearing or social distancing. There was no federal shutdown of the economy. Nothing like this that would have reduced the total number of coronavirus cases and subsequent deaths. He knows that. He does have to try to avert the question in a way that makes it seem like he did do one thing right. And the one thing that he always uses is the fact that he shut down travel and he limited travel in Europe and banned travel to and from China.
Unemployment. Look, this was a thing that came into our country, and it happened more than 100 years ago, and it happened now. They were talking about a 42% unemployment rate.
Who was talking about that? I heard 20%. It just came out at
7.8% unemployment, and people can't even believe it. Our economy is going to be next year, if we don't have somebody that raises taxes and quadruples taxes, which they want to do and kills everything, our economy is going to be phenomenal next year. We're going to have a phenomenal. And I'll tell you, Savannah, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country last year.
60% of companies that have shut down because of coronavirus are likely to remain permanently shut down. So whenever Donald Trump talks about how the economy is going to be perfectly running by next year, I don't really know what he's talking about because we're already seeing a huge effect to the economy that does not seem to have the opportunity to give these businesses the chance to reopen. Right, they're shut down for good.
And we have all we can use. We're sending them all over the world because the world needs them. So.
Sorry, I'm going to stop talking.
Really
I can't talk over top of this.
Thank you. Great question.
Asshole.
Let's talk to Isabella. Put the mic close to your mouth. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, my parents are, as you heard, both frontline healthcare workers, and I've seen the physical and the mental tolls that this pandemic has taken.
60% of businesses are permanently closed.
As well as the exacerbation of coronavirus.
So I don't know what he's talking about, that the economy is going to be up and running better than ever. We've already lost so much business that's not going to reopen, not going to be reinstated.
Importance of mask wearing.
No, because I was okay with the masks. I was good with it, but I've heard many different stories on masks. I mean, I had, being president, you have people, they bring meals, they bring this, and I had an instance recently where a very wonderful person is bringing me a meal, and he's playing with his mask, and he's touching his mask all over the place, and then he's bringing a plate in, and I'm saying, well, I don't know if that's so good. I mean, the good news, I didn't eat it, okay? I decided not to eat it. This was a month ago, but look, you have on the masks, you have two stories. You have a story where they want, a story where they don't want. I am all for it.
I don't get that, because it's just all of your public health officials, your administration, they're in unison about this.
No.
They're all in unison about it. The University of Washington, which is they have a model that your coronavirus task force relies on, says that if everyone wore a mask, you could cut expected deaths in half.
And then you have other people that
60,000
disagree.
lives. Well, what does that mean?
Scott Atkins, if you look at Scott, Dr. Scott, he's from great guy, Stanford. He will tell you
He's
that
not
he
an
disagrees
infectious
with you.
disease expert.
Oh, I don't know. Look, he's an expert. He's one of the great experts of the world.
But I don't get it, because you have so much power and influence as president.
I'm
You
all
could
for
go
it.
to you
Your
could
WeChat.
require it at your rallies,
I
and
never
you could
said don't wear
say,
it.
everyone put on a mask right now, and the University of Washington says you would
Savannah,
save
University of
lives.
Washington, and you have other places say different things. You have a lot. Hey, Dr. Fauci said don't wear a mask, right?
At first, but then everybody agreed.
No, I don't know that he changed his mind. But then you have a report coming out 2 days ago that 85% of the people wearing masks.
I looked at that report. It's not about mask wearing. It was neutral on the question of
Savannah,
masks.
we're on the same side. I say wear the mask. I'm fine with it. I have no problem. We're on the same side.
Let's take a break. We're going to get more questions right after this.
This is a situation where the state continues to struggle to expand its testing capabilities.
Protesters feel that they need to come out in full force and support their community because they feel like they're not getting that support from the Portland police.
Another election day coming up.
Yes, commercial break. All right, hell yeah. Okay. So, any nicers in this house? There's breaks. It'll return in about 2 minutes. Already Donald Trump is all over the place, right? He is getting a little bit more difficult questions thrown his way than what he received from Chris Wallace, who of course is affiliated with Fox News. He's not used to this hard line of question. These inquiries are putting him in the hot seats, right? And you can tell by the way that he is responding that he does not appreciate these hard-hitting questions. He's simply not used to answering them either, except in a few instances. He is being confronted with the failures of his administration, and these failures have led to over 200,000 coronavirus deaths, right? He's going down in the polls after this, guaranteed. He's not performing very well. Whenever he is face to face with his overall failures, he does not fare well in his response. He does try to deflect away from the things that he thinks was a good policy decision, like banning travel to and from China. That does not stop or did not prevent 200,000 people dying from coronavirus, and the death toll is only expected to rise exponentially. In fact, this number is supposed to double by year's end. So yes, Donald Trump has to answer for his crimes, and he does not answer them. He does not answer them in a way favorably for him, right? His job is on the line right now. He does not have the wherewithal to maintain his own composure. That could be because he is jacked up on whatever cocktail he is still taking, whether he's still taking remdesivir or probably other drugs that might be affecting his cognitive functioning right now. It doesn't matter. Not like we're really cheering for him, but you're seeing him struggle, right? He's undoubtedly struggling right now.
Voter. Now, Christy Alonso, come on out, Christy. She is leaning slightly towards you. She says she voted for you in 2016. Christy, you ready? Take the mask off, hold the mic close, and let's hear your question.
Thank you for your service, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
We're a hardworking, middle-class family of four. My husband and I are both self-employed, and we have to get our own individual health care. As you know, the healthcare costs have gone up considerably over the decades, and you had originally said you were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. What is your plan now in 2020 to make healthcare costs affordable for Americans like myself?
So we got rid of the individual mandate on Obamacare, which was the worst part of Obamacare, and now you could actually say it's not Obamacare because that's how big it was, where you had to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for
it's still called the ACA.
So we got rid of that. That was a big thing. And by doing that, and we will always have, by the way, we're always protecting people with pre-existing conditions, and I can't say that more strongly. But we've been able to bring healthcare costs way down. Now, I took over Obamacare, got rid of the individual mandate, made it good, managed it much better. Remember, they had the $5 billion website disaster and all of the problems they had. The problem with Obamacare, it's not good. We'd like to terminate it, and we want a much less expensive health care that's a much better health care, and that's where we're aiming. And if we can do that, and we have a very good chance of doing it, but we've also brought down the price of Obamacare. Problem with Obamacare, it basically is never going to be great, and I want to give great health care.
Mr. President, I got to follow up on the pre-existing conditions. This is such a big issue for voters.
It is a big issue for me, too.
In point of fact, your administration is about to go to the Supreme Court to argue to throw out the rest of Obamacare, which includes the protections for pre-existing conditions.
That's right.
So your administration is in court right now trying to get rid of that protection.
In order to replace
so many
with
words
a
to
much
say nothing.
better health care at a much lower price, and always, under all circumstances, we are going to protect the Republicans. And I mean, maybe I changed the party a lot over the last 3 years, but we will protect people with pre-existing conditions. And Savannah, what I want to do, get rid of the terrible Obamacare. I've already done it to a large extent because, as you know, the individual mandate is gone. That was the worst part.
You repealed, but you haven't replaced. Now, you've been in office almost 4 years.
What we have done.
You had both houses of Congress, Senate and House, in Republican hands, and there is not a replacement yet.
That's right. I'm sorry, but if you look, we had both houses, and what did we do? We got rid of the individual mandate.
But
that went through the
promise was
legislature.
repeal and replace.
Look, we should be on the same side. I want it very simple. I'm going to put it very simple. We would like to terminate it, and we would like to replace it with something that's much less expensive and much better. We will always protect people with pre-existing conditions.
But if you're successful in court in November, those pre-existing conditions, that promise will be gone.
If we don't succeed, we are running the remnants of whatever's left, because we took it apart. We are running the remnants of whatever is left much better than the previous administration, which ran it very badly.
Honestly, now you just can't be financially penalized if you do not buy into whatever healthcare premium or whatever healthcare option or plan is available through the marketplace.
And Biden had voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, and his question was, a second
that's all he
stimulus payment has
did.
been broadly
That's all he
agreed upon
did.
by the Republicans and Democrats, and yet now we're in October and it's still not passed. Why not use your office to make the second stimulus payment a separate targeted emergency relief
just say that real quick. So all he did was he did rescind the individual mandate, which means that you cannot be fined, right? You cannot be federally fined if you do not buy into whatever healthcare plan is available through the marketplace. That's all he did, right?
And we should have a stimulus, and I want a stimulus. The Republicans will approve a stimulus. The problem is she doesn't want to do it because she thinks it's bad for her election. The fact is,
you still can be fined by your state, though. In California is one of those states. If you do not buy into a healthcare plan offered by California's whatever California's market-based plans offer, you will be fined. I get notifications all the time.
One day tweeted, no more negotiations until until after election day. I'm walking away. Then I think the next couple of days you said maybe we can do something targeted. Then you said I want a big bill, but then Senate Republicans said no, we're not for that. So you're the big deal maker. How come this is so? You yourself have changed positions.
Did you ever hear of a word called negotiation? We're negotiating, okay?
But people's lives are hanging in the balance.
And you know who I'm negotiating against? Nancy Pelosi, because she doesn't want to give the money. We should have stimulus. This was not our people's fault. This was China's fault. And she's penalizing our people. I'm ready to sign a big, beautiful stimulus. You saw the other day.
Then agreed to the 2.8 trillion.
I want it to be big. I want it to be bold. I want the money to go directly to the
Senate
people.
Republicans with you? They're going to go big?
They'll go.
Big old number?
They'll go. They're going to be very
so far they have not said they would.
Oh, the 1.8 trillion,
I can't get through Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
If Nancy Pelosi and I, through my representatives or directly, I don't care, if we agree to something, the Republicans will agree
2.4 trillion.
to it.
Sorry.
Our next
That's all
question
fucked up
comes from, this is interesting. She voted for Clinton in 2016, but recently changed her registration from Democrat to independent. She says she's truly undecided. Her name's Becky Lightman. Hello, Becky. What's your question?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you. So, corporate tax rates are a hot button issue, and you have cut corporate tax rates, and your opponent Joe Biden is planning to raise them.
Right.
A lot of Americans think that corporations don't pay their share of taxes and want to see those tax rates increase. Right. What do you say to those Americans to maybe tell them why you want the corporate tax rate lower and why that helps them?
It's a great question. We've created more jobs than this country has ever created. We were up to 160 million jobs. We were never even close to that number. We were just hitting 160 million jobs. Companies are pouring into our nation because of the tax rate. And if Biden comes in and raises taxes on everybody, including middle income taxes, which he wants to do, you will blow this thing and you'll end up with a depression, the likes of which you've never had. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, like not what we're experiencing right now?
That's really good. The reason we're coming back so strong is because we built a very strong foundation. Companies are moving in. Car companies are moving into Michigan, into Ohio, into South Carolina and North Carolina just today. So what's happening is they're coming in because we reduced the taxes. Our taxes, our corporate taxes, were the highest in the world, and now they're among the lower taxes. They're not the lowest, but they're among the lowest. And what that means is jobs. But also, we're doing a very big, and we've done
That's not true. How do you think
middle income tax package? So if we get in, we're going to do the middle income tax package. But it's a great question. And if he comes along and raises...
Okay, you said that I could pause it. How do you think Scandinavian countries and other countries with robust safety nets and socialized programs pay for these programs? They have way higher corporate tax rates. He's just lying. He's just lying. I cannot believe he just does this. It's just like, it's too good. He's too good.
Rates, all those companies that are coming in, they will leave the U.S. so fast your head will spin. We can't let that happen.
On the subject of taxes, as you know, the New York Times has obtained, it says, years of your tax returns, among other things. It says that you have debts of approximately $421 million that you have personally guaranteed and that will come due in the next 4 years. The question is, on behalf of voters, who do you owe $421 million
first of all, let me answer. What they did is illegal, number one. Also, the numbers are all wrong, but the numbers are released. And just so you understand, when you have a lot of real estate, I have real estate, you know a lot of it.
The highest corporate...
Right down the road, Doral.
The highest corporate tax rate in the world belongs to the United Arab Emirates with a 29 tax rate of up to 55%.
But I'm very underleveraged. I have a
and billionaires here are bitching about a 16% corporate tax rate.
Institutions that wanted to loan me money, $400 million compared to the assets that I have, all of these great properties all over the world, and frankly, the Bank of America building in San Francisco. I don't love what's happening to San Francisco.
Well, do I hear you right? It sounds like you're saying $400 million isn't that much.
One of the biggest office buildings.
But are you confirming that yes, you do owe some $400 million?
What I'm saying is that it's a tiny percentage of my net worth.
That sounds
and
like
you'll see that soon because we're doing things. You know, we've given, I think it's 108 or 112 pages of financial detail to elections, and we have to file as the president, as any politician, you have to file. Nobody ever looks at that. When they do, they see how incredible the company is, but more importantly, they see where this debt is. No, I don't owe Russia money. I don't owe. I owe a very, very small. It's called mortgages. Yeah. People have a house.
Any foreign bank, any foreign entity.
Not that I know of, but I will probably, because it's so easy to solve. And if you'd like to do, I will let you know who I owe whatever small amount of money. I want to say two things. Number one, it's a very small amount of money. Number two, it's very straight. It's very, very straight. But it's a tiny percentage of the worth. Did you ever hear the expression underlevered?
Yeah.
I am extremely underlevered.
Well, here's the thing. You could clear this up tonight by just releasing your tax returns yourself. I mean, that's what I don't understand. I think people are just wondering.
As you know,
you're the only.
It turned out that I am underwritten.
They actually
said, excuse me. No.
I don't think that
doesn't stop
but
you from releasing.
Accused me of not being under audit previously, and so did other people at NBC, and I am under audit. So that was solved. That's good. I am under audit. No person in their right mind would release prior to working out the deal with the IRS. And I'll go a step further. I'm treated very badly by the IRS. They treat me very, very badly. You have people in there from previous administrations. They treat me very badly. But we're under audit. It's very routine in many ways, but we're under audit. They like to change the game, change the rules, do everything. You saw what they did with the Tea Party people. You saw what they did
under
with
audit
the
his whole life. Yeah.
There is no law or rule that prohibits you from releasing your tax returns.
Except common sense and intelligence and having lawyers that say, because I would love to release them, and as soon as we come to a conclusion, I will release them, and very gladly. But if you go to elections, and if you take a look, you'll see 112. I think it's 112. It talks about the income, which is rather massive. It talks about all of the properties. They have them listed. You can never learn more. But you know what happened? People went there. All the reporters went. There was like a feeding frenzy. This was originally when I filed it. And I filed it every year. I update it every year. My son is here. They run the company. I don't run the company.
It also says that you paid $750 in taxes in the year you were elected. Is that true or not?
That's a statutory number. It's a statutory.
But is that true?
I think it's a filing number. You pay $750. It's a filing or filing fee.
Most people here probably pay more.
No, I don't know. I can tell you this. If they have my tax returns, as you know, they have to go to jail. It's illegal. But their numbers were wrong. But let me tell you what else. I don't owe money to any of these sinister people. This has been going on for years now. Russia. It turned out to be a hoax. And it turned out to be that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats were dealing with Russia, not me.
His chaotic energy is like piercing through my skin and making me feel very off kilter.
When you look at vast properties like I have, and they're big and they're beautiful and they're well located, when you look at that, the amount of money, $400 million, is a peanut. It's extremely underleveraged.
It's a peanut.
And it's levered with normal banks. Not a big deal.
All right, let's take a break. We'll get more voter questions right after this.
This is giving me. Yeah, we can do it. He's full of disease. Yeah, he's full of more than just disease. He is such a shithead. Like, he is such. Yeah, he's got really bad vibes. I don't like his vibes. I don't like him. It makes me feel icky. So this is just a chaotic mess. All right. He is literally being put through the ringer right now by Savannah. I mean, Savannah is not letting up, and good. She is bringing forward just like your, honestly, like commonsensical questions. Like, you can in fact release your own tax returns, and all of this confusion could be alleviated if you would just release them in the way that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris released their tax returns. Now, he did end up spilling some very damning information, some intel. He is in the midst of negotiating with the IRS, which means that under audit there was perhaps some issues with regard to the discretion of his filings, or the discretion, or that called into question under the discretion of the IRS and the discretion of Trump himself, that there could be a reason to suggest that he was I don't know, maybe not paying his fair share. We know that he wasn't paying his fair. I don't even know what I'm saying. He's guilty of tax evasion. There, fuck it. I said it. He's guilty of tax evasion. All right. The IRS probably knows about that. He's guilty of motherfucking tax evasion. That's the reason why he's not releasing his tax returns. It's just, I don't even know why I'm trying to make this so fucking difficult. He is guilty of tax evasion, people. Subcheck. I'm literally, the Trump's chaotic energy is like, he pays a hairstylist $70K a year, remember? Really? Okay. Subcheck. Okay. Are there any primers in this house? I'm going to have to balance my chakras real quick. Do we have any subs in this house? Any primers in this house? Any gifters in this house? We have 28 seconds left. He overpaid for the hair. If he has you can pay your personal stylist as much as you want. All right. It actually sounds like that's like one thing that I will not hold against him. If he has a personal, TYT, thank you for the host. If he has a personal stylist that he pays 70 grand, right? Then that's actually not bad. I'm okay with that. All right. Back on.
Stress about and borrow for and patch together.
Why is this happening? With Chris Hayes. Subscribe now.
We are live in Miami in the middle of a town hall with President Trump. Thank you again for being here. We've got another
Black
voter,
Mary, thank you for the
Adam
host.
Sugar. He voted for Clinton in 2016. He's registered as a Democrat and says he's supporting Biden. Adam, take it away.
Thank you, Savannah. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Adam.
4 years ago, Senate leadership said it was inappropriate to push through a nominee in an election
What's going
year.
on, Trashy, please?
Yet they fast-tracked your nominee for the Supreme Court just today. The question I have for you is, what do you say to the voter that thinks it's hypocritical to act in that manner and that they can't trust Republicans' word?
So when I was elected and when a president is elected, they're elected for a period of 4 years. And Justice Ginsburg said it best, I think talking about President Obama having to do with somebody else, that the president is put there for 4 years, not for 3 years. So during this fourth year, it happened to come up, unfortunately, because I had great respect for Justice Ginsburg, but a vacancy happened to come up, and we picked somebody that's outstanding. She has been an absolute star, and I'm extremely proud of it. But again, plenty of time. I mean, there's plenty of time. We're going to do it before the election, but we also have much time after the election, but there's no reason to wait, because it's almost unanimous, it seems to me, certainly within the Republican Party, and frankly, most of the Democrats within closed rooms. I guarantee you that this is an outstanding person, and I'm using my fourth term. And you know, if you look at it, and if you put the shoe on the other foot, if they had this, they would do it 100%. So
he's such an idiot.
Times when this has happened, all 29
I'm sorry,
times,
I'm saying it.
A president has done exactly what I've done.
Can I just, to the voters' point, I'll just say that in 2016, you were on another show, actually another morning show, and you were asked whether President Obama should nominate a Supreme Court Justice Merrick Garland. And you said, I think the Senate should wait until the next president and let the president pick. Now, that was 8 months before the election. This is 3 weeks before the election.
I have a lot of respect, by the way.
So you have changed your position on this.
I have a lot of respect for Judge Garland, I want to tell you that. But I'll tell you, the whole ball game changed when I saw the way they treated Justice Kavanaugh. I have never seen any human being, and I'm not just talking about Supreme Court, I have never seen a human being treated so badly with false accusations and everything else. I have never seen anything like it. And you know what? The truth is, Savannah, like it or not, the ball game changed a lot. There has never been anybody treated so badly as
No, it didn't.
Justice
Clarence Thomas!
You've mentioned
what are you talking about?
Like to see
what are you talking about?
Confirmed to the Supreme
Whenever
Court.
whenever your misconduct is called into question, you have to answer for that. during the judiciary during the confirmation that is part of the judiciary's obligation to ask these lines of inquiries that come up during the confirmation process. Clarence Thomas had to do something of a much higher magnitude. In fact, it just happens. Clarence Thomas and his oh my God, stop it, Trashy, please. So the fact that Donald Trump is now saying that his opinion shifted entirely because of what happened during the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearing just goes to show that he does not know what he's talking about. Also, it does not make sense for him to bring up what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said whenever she said in favor of allowing Barack Obama to appoint Merrick Garland that it would be wrong to take away Obama's opportunity to use his last year as in office to make this appointment, and it doesn't make sense for Donald Trump to use this same line of reasoning to his own advantage whenever this is what he was in favor of taking away from Obama, and now he is trying to use what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, who also was in favor of Obama allowing for the power to make this appointment to justify why it's okay for him to go ahead and make this last minute appointment. It just, again, that's not, I'm trying to, I don't want to keep pausing, but like, we'll talk about this in much more detail, because I don't understand how Donald Trump makes this jump. But again, he's not thinking clearly. He never has.
You know, a Supreme Court judge does not have, I mean, they can make their own decision. And they actually have additional power to make that decision. It would be totally up to her. I would think that she would be able to rule either for me or against me. I don't see any conflict whatsoever. We have an election coming up. I think it's the most important election in the history of our country. If for any chance, and it probably won't, and I hope it doesn't ever get to the Supreme Court, but if it did, I would think that she would rule one way or the other. I would think so.
But for you think she would rule for you?
I have no idea.
I mean, of course she'll rule one way or the other, but...
Believe it or not, I never asked her about it. I never talked about it. I didn't talk about any of the obvious things that you could talk about. And I think a lot of people in my position might. But in speaking to a lot of very brilliant people and people that do this for a living, they say it's better not to talk. So I talked to her about life. I talked to her about the fact, would you like to do this? Are you willing to do this? Because it's a tremendous burden. The answer was yes. She's unbelievably well qualified, but I never spoke to her about these various questions.
Let's get our next voter. She's leaning to you, Mr. President. She voted for you in 2016. She is a registered Republican. Her name is Mariah Green. Mariah, what's your question?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm honored to be with you here tonight, sir, so thank you. I'm a pro-life millennial, and my question for you today is, if Roe v. Wade is ultimately overturned in the future, what protections would be put in place or kept for where the mother's life is in jeopardy in relation to high-risk pregnancies?
Well, again, I'm not ruling on this, and Roe v. Wade is something that a lot of people would say, obviously, you're going to speak to somebody. I also, two other great justices, Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh, I never spoke to them about Roe v. Wade. I never spoke to them about election laws. I never spoke to them about anything. And I've done the right thing from a moral standpoint. I don't even know from a legal standpoint, but it was the right thing. I think, depending on what happens with Roe v. Wade, I think that perhaps it could get sent down to the states, and the states would decide. I also think perhaps nothing will happen. I have not talked to her about it. I think it would be inappropriate to talk to her about it. And some people would say you can talk to her about it. I just think it would be inappropriate.
But what is your preference? Because it agreed, that's not something you should talk to the judge about. But would you like to see Roe versus Wade overturned?
I would like to see a brilliant jurist, a brilliant person who has done this in great depth and has has actually.
I want
stirred
Amy
this
Coney
issue for a long
Barrett
time
to overturn
make a
Roe
decision,
v.
and
Wade
that's
is
why
what
I
he
chose
wants
her.
to say.
I think that she's going to make a great decision. I did not tell her what decision to make, and I think it would be inappropriate to say right now because I don't want to do anything to influence her. I want her to get approved, and then I want her to go by the law, and I know she's going to make a great decision for our country.
But you
along
running
with
as
the
a
other
pro-life
two people I put
Republican,
there.
most pro-life Republicans would like to see Roe
Did
v.
he say
Wade
jurist?
overturned and abortion banned.
Did he say
Many of them
jurist?
would.
Wait a minute.
Perhaps most of them would. I am telling you, I don't want to do anything to influence anything right now. I don't want to go out tomorrow and say, oh, he's trying to give her a signal because I didn't speak to her about it. I've done the right thing in so doing. How she's going to rule, you're going to find out perhaps, or you might not find out. I mean, it may never get there. It may never get there. We'll see what happens.
All right, we have another question. This is Cindy Velez. She is undecided. She says she's leaning to Biden, and she did vote for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as a Democrat. Hi, Cindy. What's your question?
Good evening, Savannah.
Cindy,
Good
thank
evening,
you.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
As the mother of a young male of color, I have raised him to respect authority, not only because it's the right thing to do, but also out of fear that he may face profiling or be considered a criminal. As an educator, I've also had similar conversations with my high school students. Mr. President, what will you and your administration do to better prepare our law enforcement officers to work in collaboration with the communities that they serve and also to protect the lives of innocent Black and Latinos from police brutality and injustice?
Right. I fully understand the question, and I saw everything that you saw over the summer, and it was a terrible thing to watch. We were very strongly, we have a senator named Tim Scott from South Carolina. He came up with a bill that should have been approved. It was great. It was a bill that was strong in terms of law enforcement and strong in terms of enforcing the proper thing and doing the proper thing by law enforcement. And the Democrats just wouldn't go for it. They wouldn't go for it at all. And I don't know why, because it was a really great bill. But I do have to say this. And some people don't like it when I say it, but a lot of people agree. I have done more for the African American community than any president, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, historically
I am so
black
sick of
colleges
hearing
and
random
universities.
people
I got them funded.
regurgitate
They
these
were on a
talking
year-to-year
points
basis.
over
They
and
could have been put
over
out of
and over
business.
again, by the way.
As soon as our country had a little bad year, they would have said, I'm sorry, we're not going to fund you. I got them 10-year funding and financing, and more than they even asked for. I became very friendly with a lot of the heads. But we've done more, and of course, opportunity zones. But criminal justice reform, everybody said it could not be done. President Obama and Biden never even tried to do it. They never even tried. But I say that, and I say it often. I'll say it loud, and I'm very proud of it. And I have a great relationship because of what I've done with the African American community. I'm very proud of it.
Let's go to our next question. We have Paulette Dale. She leans slightly to Biden. She voted for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as a Republican. Paulette, what's your question?
Who did Trump free?
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Who did Trump, like, a fucking, like, sheriff? What's that? Never mind.
He does. You're so handsome when you smile. As the daughter of immigrants to the United States who fled Eastern Europe due to religious persecution, the United States immigration policies are very personal for me.
Right.
Surveys show that most Americans and the majority of Republicans support the Dreamers program. So my question for you, Mr. President, is if you are elected to a second term, do you expect to pursue your previous efforts to cut the DACA program?
Yeah.
Why or why not?
And the DACA is somewhat different than Dreamers. You understand that, and you understand it better than anybody probably in this room. Where do you come from, by the way, originally? Where?
My grandparents were from Russia and Poland.
Okay. So we are going to take care of DACA. We're
Say
going to
it in a room.
Dreamer.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that saying that to a room full of people from Miami, Florida is probably the wrong approach, that the person from Russia knows DACA better than anyone else. Holy shit.
Is working very closely with us. We have the strongest border we've ever had. We want people to come into our country. They have to come in legally. But we are working very hard on the DACA program, and you will be, I think, very happy over the course of the next year.
Thank you.
Because I feel the same way as you do about it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, in point of fact, the DACA program, there are, under your administration, no new applicants are allowed. And in fact, the DACA recipients now have to renew every year as opposed to every 2 years. So in fact, the DACA program has been curtailed by your administration.
Well, what happened is because of the pandemic, much changed on the immigration front. Mexico is heavily infected, as you know, and we've made it very, very difficult to come in because of the pandemic and other reasons, and crime. But we have a very strong border right now, and we have to keep it that way. But we want people to come into our country, but they have to come in through a merit system, and they have to come in legally. And people are very, very happy with it. You haven't heard any complaints about that. But what happened is because of the pandemic,
the lady who asked the question,
extra cautious.
You have been promising this immigration bill since, well, at least July, when you told my colleague on Telemundo it was coming, but nothing's come yet.
It's very happy. The fact is, we got rid of catch and release, which is a disaster. You know, you catch somebody, they could be a murderer, they could be a rapist, and we're supposed to release them into our country. These are the laws that I inherited. We ended that program. Now, I think you're going to see something very, very good. The whole immigration, if you look at what's going on, people used to pour into our country, and especially during the pandemic. I think even you, Savannah, will be very impressed.
Sir, we have about 30 seconds left. I think about people sitting out there tonight. There are some who love you. Some of them are sitting right around here, and some who will never vote for you. But there are people in the middle. There are people who aren't sure.
That's right.
There are people who want to know why they should give you a second chance and how you might improve in a second term. 30 seconds. What would you say to them?
Because they've done a great job. We had the strongest economy in the world. We closed it up. We are coming around the corner. The vaccines are coming out soon, and our economy is strong. We are at a level with jobs like we've never been before. We've rebuilt our military. We've rebuilt our borders. We had no borders. We had no nothing. We've rebuilt so much. We've given you the greatest tax cut in the history of our country, greatest regulation cut.
I think that she just found the most polite way to tell Donald Trump to go fuck himself.
Levels of jobs that nobody thought was possible. And next year is going to be better than ever before.
I got to leave it there. I got a wrap from the control room. Mr. President, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the voters' questions. That concludes our town hall. We do want to thank the president again, as well as our audience in hot Miami and all of you watching at home. And a reminder, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are scheduled to meet in person a week from tonight in Nashville, a second and final presidential debate moderated by our own Kristen Welker.
Okay, something that just blows my mind that I have to go back to, that I can't get over, is how Donald Trump loves to bring up what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said with regard to Obama's Supreme Court appointee Merrick Garland, in that by the Republican-controlled Senate blocking his ability to appoint and allow for the confirmation process of Merrick Garland, this was effectively taken away 1 year's worth of presidential power. This was what Ruth Bader Ginsburg meant whenever she said that the Senate was effectively turning Barack Obama into a 3-term president. All right? So, understanding that Donald Trump is using the same logic to try to pave the way for a last-minute Supreme Court confirmation with his appointment of Amy Coney Barrett, it's bothersome that he expects the Democrats to not pull the same chicanery as the Republicans that effectively blocked the confirmation during Obama's last year in office. But again, this just goes back to the hypocrisy that you can expect from the GOP and the president. Thank you, iStunts, for subscribing with your Twitch Prime. And that's all I wanted to say. I know I kind of fumbled that in the beginning, whenever I tried to bring it up. But the GOP is so incredibly shameless, all right? So incredibly shameless that they will adopt any rhetoric from anybody if it fits their narrative. They do not care that they will contradict themselves in the same sentence, in the same breath.